All right, let's talk about something you've probably driven past a million times and never really thought about: the water tower. You see them everywhere, from tiny towns to massive cities, and they look pretty simple, right? But it turns out their design is secretly genius, solving some really complex problems in physics, economics, and even public safety.
I mean, really, they're these silent giants just watching over us. But what is their actual job? Why go through all the trouble and expense of putting a giant, heavy tank of water way up in the sky?
And look, the first thing that comes to mind is, duh, it's for storing water, and you're not wrong. But that's kind of like saying your phone is just for making calls. Yeah, it does that, but that's barely scratching the surface of what makes it so useful. The real magic is in the how and the why it stores that water.
See, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because that simple act of putting water up high solves a whole bunch of other, way more complicated issues. It's this elegant, old-school piece of tech that's still incredibly hard to beat.
So let's get into the real engineering magic here. We're going to start with the first and maybe most surprising job a water tower has: dealing with our own daily habits.
Okay, so here's the first big secret. The best way to think of a water tower isn't as a storage tank, but as a giant battery. Seriously, a battery that's powered by nothing more than gravity.
Think about your day. Is your water use even? No way, right? Our water usage is all over the place. At 3 a.m., pretty much nobody's using water, but then at 7 a.m., boom, everyone's waking up, showering, flushing toilets, making coffee. Same thing happens around 6 p.m. when people get home from work. You get these massive peaks in demand and deep valleys in between. So if you're a city planner, you've got two options. Option A, you could install these enormous, super expensive pumps that are powerful enough to handle that 7 a.m. morning rush. The problem? For the other 20 hours of the day, that massive power is just sitting idle. It's incredibly inefficient. Or there's option B. You install smaller, cheaper, much more efficient pumps, and you build a water tower. Those smaller pumps just run at a nice, steady pace all day, all night. During the quiet hours, like in the middle of the night, they use that time to fill up the tower. Then, when the morning rush hits, gravity does the heavy lifting, and all that water in the tower flows down to help meet the demand.
This is where that battery idea really clicks. There's this quote from one of the sources: "It's perfect. The pumps use electricity, often cheaper off-peak electricity at night, to lift the water up. That's storing energy, potential energy. Then, when we need it, that energy is released as water pressure for free. No electricity needed."
So really, the tower is just a giant buffer. It's this beautiful, simple way to smooth out those crazy peaks and valleys in demand. It lets the whole water system be built cheaper and run way more efficiently. It's a fantastic idea, but it's not even the most important thing these towers do.
But that's just the economic reason. There's another job these towers have, and honestly, it's way more important. It's a hidden safety feature that protects the health of an entire town.
I mean, sure, during a power outage, it's great to still have water. But why is keeping the pressure up so critical? What's the worst that could happen if it drops for a few hours?
Well, the answer is kind of gross, and it's buried right under our feet. Our towns and cities are full of thousands of miles of water mains. A lot of these pipes are old, sometimes over 100 years old. And over time, they all develop tiny little cracks and leaky joints. It's just unavoidable. Okay, so check this out, because this is where the genius comes in. As long as the pressure inside those pipes is high, thanks to the gravity from the water tower, clean drinking water is constantly pushing its way out of those tiny leaks. That outward flow acts like a shield, keeping all the nasty stuff in the soil, like bacteria, from getting in. But if you lose that pressure, say from a power outage or a main break, the whole thing reverses. You can actually get a suction effect, and dirty groundwater gets sucked into the drinking water pipes, potentially contaminating the water for thousands of people.
And if you think this is just some weird theoretical problem, it's not. This happens all the time. Like this person from the source material pointed out, whenever you hear about a boil water advisory in the news, it's almost always because of a loss of pressure. The water tower is literally our first line of defense against that.
So, okay, we've established that using gravity to create pressure is absolutely key. But how you do that really depends on where you live. The principle is the same, but the solution can look totally different.
Like if you're in the Midwest, it's flat, right? You've got no natural high points, so you have to build them. And that's where you get those classic, iconic towers reaching for the sky. But if you're somewhere hilly, like the West Coast, engineers can be lazy in the best way possible. They just find the highest hill around and build a big storage tank on top of it. It does the exact same job as a tall tower, just using the natural landscape.
And then you've got a totally different beast, the megacity. Take New York City. The city's water pressure can only push water up about 6 stories. So for skyscrapers, they need another solution. And that solution is these little guys. There are an estimated 15,000 of these iconic wooden tanks scattered across the rooftops of New York.
And what's so wild is how brilliantly simple and kind of old school these things are. They're still made of wood because it's cheaper than steel, it's a great natural insulator, and it doesn't make the water taste weird. They don't even use a sealant. When the tank is filled, the wood swells up and seals itself perfectly. But here's the absolute genius part. The pipe for the building's drinking water comes out from the top part of the tank. The entire bottom half of the water is reserved just for the fire sprinklers. So no matter what, there's always a dedicated supply of water ready to fight a fire. How smart is that?
So when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, you realize this thing that looks so simple, this piece of 19th century technology, is actually an incredibly clever and sophisticated solution.
So let's just recap the water tower's real job description. It's not just storing water. It provides constant pressure. It lets us use cheaper, more efficient pumps. It acts as a battery to handle peak demand. It prevents our water from getting contaminated. And it keeps the water flowing even when the power goes out.
It's just one of those things, right? A piece of tech that's so simple, so elegant, that it just works. For over 150 years, it has remained absolutely essential, and it's not going anywhere.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredibly smart solutions are just hiding in plain sight? Things we see every single day but never really see. Thanks for joining this explainer.